So guys, before we get into today's episode, I just have a super quick note for you. So you'll notice that this video length is somewhere about an hour long or so. Well, this week, Ari and I actually had about a 2-hour conversation. I think from start to finish, our full conversation was about 2 hours and 10 minutes. But somewhere at about, and you'll see this in the video, somewhere at about like the 57, 58-minute mark, I don't know exactly what happened, but things just started glitching out. Okay, the video got completely out of sync with the audio. I'm freezing up every few seconds, and I don't know exactly what happened or where things went wrong. But long story short, basically the whole second half of our conversation, we weren't going to be able to use. There was no amount of open heart surgery that was going to bring back that footage and make it usable, unfortunately. And I have no idea what happened. It just kind of randomly happened. But anyway, with that said, the first half or so of our conversation was great, totally usable. And so we figured that at least putting that out was going to be better than putting nothing out at all. So I just wanted to hop on and share that. Towards the end of the video, you'll start to see where it starts glitching out and whatnot. And we'll just basically cut the conversation when it gets to the point where it's just, too far gone. So I just wanted to share that real quick, and I hope you guys enjoy the video.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 officially on The Deep End. Ryne, how's it been going? What have you been up to? Recent buys? Anything on the radar?
Man, I'll tell you, this week so far is, I'd say, off to a better start than last week. I've pretty much been seeing all green, not all green, but more green than red in the portfolio this week and last week. Total opposite. As far as the buys, picked up some more clear secure. I think we're up to 93 shares as of this week. Doing seven more shares, and then I think I might hit the pause button. I think that at that point it'll be a good size position for me at this point. And I'm starting to see it recover too. It was recently like sub $27 per share, but it's inching back up to, I think right now it's pretty close to around 28 bucks a share. So it's starting to head in the right direction, but yeah, man, other than that, normal DCA into SCHD and VOO, but that's about it. What about yourself?
Well, I'm going to say, man, clear secure. I mean, I think every time we've jumped on together, you have been doubling down on clear secure. So it's just neat to see that you've kept at it, and now you're coming up on that mark for yourself where you can move to maybe another position. Yeah. Kudos. I'm looking to do that with UnitedHealth, which, by the way, that's what I've been doubling down on. Especially, I hate to have a smile on my face when I talk about buying UnitedHealth right now, just given the situation of Brian Thompson. For those of you who don't know, was tragically gunned down in Manhattan. But at the same time, that presented a opportunity for shareholders or investors, and so I am taking advantage of that opportunity. I've loaded up on, I want to say, a little over $6,000 to $7,000 worth of UnitedHealth stock within the last week. Just buying even 5 more shares just before this video. So I have been loading up on UnitedHealth.
So what's your?
There's a lot of. Go ahead.
Sorry, Matt. I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
No. I was going to say, man, I think there's a lot of opportunity in this. Near term, I think there's a lot of noise and a lot of, scarcity here when it comes to UnitedHealth and shareholders running in the opposite direction. But I think what we're really looking at is like once the media gets involved in things, like it just blows up. And I kind of am looking at just all the headlines, and the headlines at this point aren't even like, Brian Thompson murdered, right? It's like every healthcare or healthcare provider is now at risk, and it's just all this fear-provoking, fear-mongering. And I'm like, wow, like I think in a year, 2 years, 3 years, like this is all just going to be, behind us. And I also just think with Trump coming into office, I think he's going to be much looser with big businesses, and that's going to be really good for, whether it's UnitedHealth or Visa or Alphabet, like all of these companies that the DOJ has cracked down on. I think that whip is not going to hit them anymore, at least in the coming years. So I think what we're dealing with now is just, some near-term volatility and a long-term win. UnitedHealth has a tremendous balance sheet. It's the largest healthcare provider in the United States. It's a behemoth, and a dividend growth stock that I absolutely loved before this whole saga went down and still love now.
I just learned a couple days ago that me and my wife's health insurance is through UnitedHealth. She works at Lululemon, and so they get some pretty nice, benefits, and part of that's health insurance. So it's kind of cool. Made me think, oh, maybe I should finally like get around to learning how these insurance companies work and look into that now that I'm a customer of it. But
well, I want to say thank you for the dividends coming my way, man. Thanks to you guys.
My pleasure. I was going to ask you though. So with that big purchase, that extra $6,000-$7,000 that you're up to, where's your cash position at now? Because I think you were at around $30K. So
yeah.
Where are you at?
So I was initially around $30K, like you said, and then I started buying some UnitedHealth, and I came down to 27 something, thousand.
Mm-hmm.
And then UnitedHealth fell again, and I went again to buy another handful of shares, and I came down to around 20,000. And then you know what? Yeah, I'm lying. UnitedHealth wasn't all that I bought, because I'm going to come down now to the number of where I am. But I did buy more shares worth of Vanguard Technology Fund, ticker symbol VGT. So that was another 1,000 and something change there. And I also sold out of, get ready for this, in my Roth IRA, I finally went ahead to just sell out of my Coca-Cola shares. Told everyone I was going to do it. Committed.
How'd it feel?
Feels good, man. I'm cleaning up. I'm reaching that goal that I shared with everybody that I would hit. And I threw all that into UnitedHealth. So cash position wise, it was once at around 30,000, came down 25, then 20. I'm now sitting around $16,000 in that cash position. But I do have some income that I'm actually going to load that baby right back up. So it should probably be back up by around 20,000 total in there by the end of next week.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Just keeping at it. It's not easy. It is. I am really I'm hyper focused. Number one, I don't know, Ryne, if you ever feel this way, but when you make a statement, on YouTube or, to even friends, it's like, say what you mean what you say. And I told everybody that I was going to trim my portfolio down to 7 to 10 holdings and be myopically focused on core holdings. And that's what I'm doing. I'm sticking to it. And it does feel good.
I guess that's a good thing about, kind of doing this in a public forum, is that it keeps you honest. The things that you say, there are people like you guys in the comments, you guys watching, that will hold us and you accountable to, to what you say you're going to do. So I think it's good from that point of view. It also helps keep us on the straight and narrow too, I think. And it also, like, another thing, for better or for worse, it really, and I don't know if you feel this, but I think it makes you want to be a bit more careful with your investment decisions. And this is where it's the for better or for worse part, because for better or for worse, there are people who will buy the things that you buy just because they hear you talking about it. And I think that's, from an investing standpoint, that can be a good thing, because it really forces us to do our due diligence and not just like throw random stuff out there. Not to say that, we're more likely to be right because of that, but at least we're more likely to pay more attention to where our money's going. So I think from that point of view, it's good from that point of view, as well as what I was trying to say. But going back to the cash thing, so is it hard for you to have that much cash on the side? Because I know it's generating interest right now, but is there a part of you that wants to just put all of that into equities right now? Or are you okay holding some back? and slowly, like, well, maybe not too slowly. It seems like you went through half that 30K position pretty quickly, but are you okay holding some of that back?
I am, because first of all, it's not easy. It's really, I see, I had 30K in there, and I'm gonna again load it back up, because if anyone saw the last episode, I was just talking about how 2025 is going to be the year, which we'll probably get into soon, Ryan, about our goals for the new year. But one of my goals is to hit over $300,000 in the brokerage that everyone sees here on YouTube. And so I'm aggressive. I'm getting really aggressive. And I have been using this cash position as the position whereas I'm going to continue to nibble at the S&P, dollar cost average into the S&P on a weekly basis, at least one share. If I don't buy anything, you at least can hold me to it that I will always buy one share of the S&P. Now, with that, I always was saying, in each video, at least my portfolio update videos, that I'm going to use this cash position for when an opportunity comes to offload this cash. Now, I see UnitedHealth as I don't want to say once in a lifetime opportunity, because I don't really believe in once in a lifetime opportunities when it comes to the market. I believe in opportunities. And I believe this is one of those big opportunities to take advantage of. If you're a UnitedHealth shareholder or potential investor in UnitedHealth. So I'm taking advantage. And I think, again, in the next 5 to 10 years, UnitedHealth will be in a far better position than it is today. Now, going back to your question, I try my hardest to not be tempted by movements of the market. And so I see every day a lot going on. And you know what? I think it's even harder when you have a more concentrated portfolio. Like, I think about Bill Ackman. Guy's got 7 to 10 holdings in his portfolio. He's had that for about, as far back as I knew of Bill Ackman. So I always think about this, and his words always ring true to me. At any given moment, there aren't dozens of amazing opportunities. There are only a select few of high quality opportunities. So don't jump at everything. Stick to quality. And I just try to stick to quality. And does it mean I have all the right answers and all the stocks in my portfolio are the quality gems in the market? I don't know. Up to interpretation. I feel like they are. But it is hard. I want to throw the 30,000 in. Just the other day, I was looking at the S&P and I go, wow, you know what? If I just a couple months ago just threw the 30,000 right into the S&P and I wasn't just holding out for something, I would have made a good amount of money. So what was I doing? And I was like, oh, was I waiting for a good opportunity in, say, UnitedHealth? Yes. Is Warren Buffett sitting on, just a cash pile like none other? Yeah. He's waiting for an opportunity. But it's hard. Certainly. I don't know if you I also like what you said, by the way, of just being on YouTube or being in this type of forum where people are watching us. It just holds us to the fire. It holds me accountable to do exactly what I'm saying. And I think, just as you were sharing that, Ryne, I want to suggest to everybody out there to go find at least 1 or 2 individuals in your network that you can call an accountability partner that's going to hold you to it. That you can meet up on maybe a weekly basis, just like Ryne and I do right here, and that you can actually run ideas off of and be like, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? Even if that individual doesn't agree with you, at least they can say, hey, man, you said you were going to invest in the S&P every week or whatever it is. Because I could tell you, just me telling everybody that I'm going to do certain moves and then I do them, I made out very well.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, if you can always use us as those accountability buddies, by the way. If you ever want to just shoot us an email and we can kind of be pen pals. I got quite a handful of those, but it's fun. it's fun to know what you guys are up to in your portfolios. And like we've talked about before, we're all on the same journey here, and we're all here to help each other, reach financial freedom. And so if you guys need someone to hold you accountable, even if it's just shooting us an email, just picking our brain or saying, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to report to you. I'm going to send you an email update every week or every month, just letting you know that if I'm on the ball or not. If that's what you need, we've got you guys' back. So don't ever hesitate to reach out. I love getting emails from you guys. It's one of my favorite things.
I sometimes get Instagram DMs, and I really I'm a big voice note guy. I like to just I don't have time so I just voice note. And I love the messages on Instagram because I can just voice note and then we can go back and forth in a conversation. But to that end, also feel free to just comment, down below with your portfolio woes or questions that you have specific to your portfolio and where you're at in life. And like, if you really want Ryne and I's opinion about it, we're going to be pretty direct.
Yeah.
So be careful with that.
And with that said, too, we always try and, at the end of these episodes or towards the end, we always try and answer at least a couple of questions. I got a couple good ones picked out for this episode that we can go through later. But before we get into that, let's go back to our 2025 goals. Now, in the last episode, which is the first official one on the new channel, which we're already up to over 500 subscribers, which is just incredible. Thank you guys for all of the support so far. That it means a lot. But in the last episode, Ari, you shared that one of your goals is to hit over basically $100,000 more than where your portfolio value was at, last week, which is around 235. So your goal, a year from now or by the end of 2025 is to be over 335K. Do you have any other investing goals or portfolio goals, anything else like that you're trying to get done in this upcoming year?
Yeah, I think that the other big goal that I have that I've mentioned quite often is just trimming that portfolio down. And so I really want, and I got less than 30 days to do it now because we're in December, but I really want before 2025 to completely get rid of Coca-Cola if I can. McDonald's, I'm flirting with getting rid of. Actually, I was just before this, I was like, should I today? Is today the day? I want my portfolio cleaned up, trimmed down to the 7 to 10 holdings and over $300,000 in 2025. I want to make some massive moves to do all this. But I think those are my two biggest goals. I'm excited to hear yours, though, because I feel like I'm always talking about this trimming goal. And again, I'm like, thanks to all of you, I'm being held to the fire. But Ryne, what about you, man? What 2025 is like literally almost here.
Yeah.
What are your goals? How are you going through the year?
I have 4 big goals that I'm trying to reach. I think most of them are within my control. One of them is not. But first and foremost, one of my biggest goals, sorry guys, one of my biggest goals is to get to a point at sometime throughout the year. I'd like to reach a point where I'm investing $300 every single week. At this point, I just recently bumped it up last month or in October. I just recently bumped it up to $250. So, that's kind of how I've done it over the years. I've slowly, incrementally increased my contributions, and I want to keep that going. So my first goal is at some point in 2025, by the end of the year, I want to increase my contributions from where they're at now, $250 every single week, which is $13,000 per year. I want to bump that up to $300 every single week, which I think amounts to $15,600. I crunched it earlier, and I think that's what the number was. But yeah, $15,600 per year. And I'm in this weekly contributions, I'm going to include both my taxable account and my Roth IRA, as well as my wife's portfolio. She has a Robinhood account that she's had for a couple of years, and I'm actually in the process of doing an ACATS transfer from Robinhood over to Schwab, and I'm going to start, once that's transferred over, everything's good to go, I'm going to start putting an additional $25 per week there, so that'll be $275. And then I think she is on board with also matching that, putting another $25 in per week on her end. And it all goes to the same place anyway, but and comes from the same place. But I think that right there should put me at the 300. So I think that'll be a pretty easy goal to hit. With that said, it's probably kind of a low ball goal. So maybe I should say 325. I'm going to do that. I'm going to revise my goal, 325. It
reminds me of like the bench press goals, like 225.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, it's pretty similar. So let's say 325. Yeah, across all portfolios, including my wife's. And I think too, any new additional contributions, anytime I raise the weekly contributions, I want to start putting it more in hers than mine. I feel like mine's in a really good place right now, and I want to really start beefing hers up. And I think we're just getting, contribution wise, but also portfolio contribution wise, and subsequently portfolio value wise. She's got a couple grand in there right now, but if we can start building that, I think that'd be really good. So that's goal number one.
Is she on board? Like, are you like, hey, like, hey babe, like, Lululemon paycheck is coming in, like we got to put another chunk in there, or is it?
Yeah. She's totally on board with it. There's been some financial things that we've wanted to do before investing. For example, like paying off our car. And we share a car right now. We only have one car, which I would, if anyone's in a position to pull that off, I'd highly recommend it, because we're saving hundreds of dollars per month doing that. Just having one car and not two. But one of the things that we wanted to do was get the car paid off, and we just busted that out last month. So the car's officially paid off. We're transferring things over to Schwab. Thank you, man. Wanted to get through the holidays because, buying Christmas gifts and stuff like that. So I think once the dust settles from everything this month, I think we'll be able to go into next month with a pretty solid ability to start hitting the investments a little bit harder. But yeah, she's totally on board. She understands the importance of this stuff. And yeah, I'll just leave it there. She's completely on board with it. So I'm excited, man. So that's goal number one. Goal number two is to hit 400 shares of SCHD. And this is probably another low ball goal, because I think it's going to be pretty doable. I think I'm at about 300. Gosh, I think I'm already up over like 310 shares of SCHD. And I'm buying, depending on the week, I'm buying like a couple shares per week. So I think that'll be pretty doable. And I might revise that goal as the year goes on. Maybe 450 is probably like a good stretch goal. But that's another one, hit 400 shares of SCHD. This next one, we'll see. I also want to reach $3,600 of projected annual dividend income by the end of the year. I'm just now like barely crossed 3,000. And so in this next, year and 3 weeks, I'd like to hit 3,600, which amounts to $300 per month on average. If I see if 2025 is similar in terms of dividend growth, if it's similar to this year, I think I should hit it, especially if I'm going to be increasing my contributions. And for that number, I'm not including my wife's account. I'm just considering my own taxable brokerage account and my Roth IRA. So I think that'll be pretty doable, but we'll see how the year goes. And then the last goal, which this one I feel like is pretty out of my control. Some of it's in my control, some of it is not. But I want to reach $100,000 in my portfolio. I'm at about 88 and a half right now. And, a lot of it's just dependent on what the stock market does. And because that's really what's allowed me to get from, just a couple of months ago, I'd hit $80,000. And like a couple months before that, I'd gone from 70 to 80. So, it's been a really good year in terms of unrealized gains and profits there. And if that continues, hitting six figures in the portfolio should be no problem at all. But you just never know. You never know what could happen. And I feel like things are pretty frothy right now. It would not surprise me to see things just continue to pump. But part of me also thinks, and this is not a prediction, by the way, guys, but part of me also thinks that we are getting due for a little pullback correction type of thing. And I don't know. When that comes is anyone's guess, but I do think I can't help but feel like it's kind of around the corner. And I could totally be wrong. It could, like 2025 could be even better than 2024. You just never know with these things.
Well, look, on a positive note, just today, inflationary data came out at 2.7%, and that then, at least from a lot of the talk on the street, if you will, is that we're really now projected to get another interest rate cut, or at least we're set up for another interest rate cut, which is, of course, great for businesses. So I personally think, your last goal of hitting $100,000 is a little bit of a cop-out, man. I think you should aim for $150,000 in 2025. I know, audacious, but man, I think your portfolio's set up well. I think you like all the other goals are easily going to amount to surpassing $100,000. I think probably within the next couple of months.
So what about this, man? Because I think you're right. I mean, if the market stays flat this next year, just for my contributions, I'll be able to get over six figures. Contributions plus dividend income. So yeah, you're probably right. Probably a cop-out number. And if I'm being honest, a lot of these numbers, with the exception of maybe the projected annual income, but a lot of these goals I think are pretty low-ball goals that I think I'll have an easy time hitting. So let me revise some of these. I've already, and I have notes on this.
Get back to the drawing boards, man.
Yeah, so going back to the drawing board, I've already changed out $300 per week for the contributions to $325. That's the goal. Instead of 400 shares of SCHD, let's say 450 shares of SCHD. How about that?
I'll take it.
That could be kind of a stretch, but we'll see. I think the $3,600 in projected annual income is a pretty reasonable goal. So I want to leave that one there. But I do think you're right with the portfolio value. The only thing that would keep me from hitting six figures is if the market goes down. But that aside, if things keep on like they have been, even if it stays flat, we'll get there. So why don't I say, just as a compromise between 100 and 150, why don't we say 125,000 in the portfolio?
125 in 2025.
Yeah,
I'll take anything that's higher than the 100,000 week goal that you gave us there.
Okay.
But I'll also say this: I want everyone to just take note of what just happened. Ryne came in with some goals, and I was like, let's up it, And at the end of the day, that's the accountability. Say what you mean what you say, and now Ryne has that written down. It's in stone, or at least on the computer, and let's go for it. I think at the end of the day, now we have a full blown audience out there. Everybody has just witnessed this happen, so I'm going to hold you to it in 2025. And I think what's going to be fun is after a few months, looking back on some of these goals, me even more, I guess in a few weeks here, I want you to call me out if I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And I almost feel like I want to bet something. I don't know.
Well, I think we should. It's tough to bet because there is, especially when it comes to the portfolio values, there is a lot that's outside of our control there. There really is. I mean, I know that both of us will do the things that are within our control. We'll hit it hard with the contributions. We'll try and pick the best investments possible. But a lot of it is dependent on what the market decides to do, which is determined by so many outside forces. So yeah, and we'll see how it goes, but I do think that we should revisit our goals here in the next few months, maybe towards the end of the first quarter of next year, and just see, are we on track to hit these goals? And if we're on track, or maybe even ahead of the game, we can maybe revise it upward. What do you think about that?
I like it. I think it's great. It's a quarterly review. Where are we at? Are we report in this thing to win?
Yeah. We'll have our own little 10Q podcast, basically.
Ryne, you mentioned something actually when you were talking about, it was right when you began to talk, I think about not contribute. No, it was your wife working at Lululemon and the holiday season's coming up. And I think this is a big topic that I actually just, when you were talking, I was like, wow, this is actually, I think, could be a pretty insightful conversation to have. Holiday shopping. This is huge. I feel like a lot of people get super excited in December. November, I mean, we get Black Friday and Thanksgiving and all that, and then we roll into November, and it's the holiday season, and everyone's going a little crazy, at least in my opinion, with gifts. I want to ask you, like, how much do you expect to spend? How do you personally look at gifts? Like, I come kind of from a family of experiences, and like just being with each other was kind of the gold. Yeah, we did get gifts, but even today, how I look at gifts is like, I don't know. I don't really want to go and buy someone like a pair of socks and sweater or, whatever. It's like, I'd rather either A, give you money, or B, just have a killer experience with you somehow. But so many people, I feel like, overspend on gifts. And what I'm saying is, like, maybe think twice about your gifts. Maybe even open up. This is pretty cool for anyone who's a parent out there. Open up a brokerage account for your kid or kids and gift them that. But I'm curious to know, like, how do you gift in the Williams household over there, and how do you stay cautious of spending?
Well, truth be told, I don't have. I really, the only person I really buy gifts for, to be honest, is my wife. We pretty much do, since we moved to, at least these days, since we moved to Vegas, we've kind of been on our own for the holidays. My folks don't really like us buying gifts for them. They kind of, interestingly, they kind of get mad when you do. And so, don't have to worry about that so much. But yeah, I'd say my wife's really the only one that I have to buy any gifts for, and I don't mind spoiling her. Not spending like four figures or anything on gifts, but I spent about $450 for her Christmas presents this year. Got a few nice things that I know she'll use, and that's when it comes to gift giving. That's what I try and look for. If it's like a material thing, I want to make sure it's something that will get a lot of use and it's something that you actually need. And in her case, the things I bought her are definitely the case. And if there's nothing like that, then yeah, we go the experience route for sure. Maybe we'll do a staycation on the Strip, or put aside a certain amount of money towards a different vacation. And that's kind of how I approach it. But I really like the idea of what you said, opening up a brokerage account for your kids. When I actually, that was pretty much how I got into investing when I was, and I've some of you guys listening have heard this story, or watching have heard this story. Ari, you've probably heard this already too. But when I was like 12 or 13, somewhere in that range, like my early teens, my parents did that. They opened up custodian accounts for me and all my siblings. And from that point on, every Christmas, every birthday, anytime there was a gift that needed to be given, we got money for our Charles Schwab accounts. And it was kind of a running joke in the family and it still is, because when you're, 12, 13, 14, you have no idea what this stuff is. You don't care about buying stocks. You don't even know what stocks are. I wanted Grand Theft Auto. I wanted a new skateboard. I wanted a new guitar. And so when it came to, Christmas presents or birthday presents at that age, just getting a check for, Charles Schwab money, it was not. We'd always give my parents a hard time about it, and they would say, someday you'll thank us. Someday you'll be really glad that you have this. And sure enough, like, they were right. It didn't hit me till I was probably 25 or 26, but come that age, when it finally started clicking for me, I was sure glad that I already had like some foundation of an investment portfolio, a few grand, but still, I'm so glad that I had some sort of foundation that I can build upon. And that account, that custodian account, is now the account that I invest in every single week. It's the same Charles Schwab account. So it's been a really cool thing. It hasn't quite clicked for my siblings yet, but there's still hope for them.
Are they watching your YouTube channel? Like, do they see what's going on?
No, I don't think so. They obviously know what I do and that
Are
I'm
they
into
subscribed?
this stuff. But they better be.
You gotta check, man.
Yeah. But no, gifts, man, going back to gifts, it's pretty easy in the Williams household. Um, and just between like my wife and myself too, I've talked about this before, but we're pretty simple. There's not much material stuff that we really want. It's maybe like for me this year, it was like running shoes, a couple books. And then outside of that, I actually ask for money to invest. But same thing, like my mom at least is kind of weird about that. She wants us to have things to open on Christmas. And I don't know, at this age, it's kind of hard to come up with those things, but a couple books, pair of running shoes, it's good enough for me.
It's all you need. I mean, really, like get use. It's what you said. Like buy what you can get use out of, or buy someone what they can get use out of. Instead of these, sometimes I just see these gifts what people are buying, and it's like just overload on like, I hate to call it crap, but like crap that you're never going to use. It's just like you could just they're like it. Sometimes I would get a gift from my father. Like he'd send me money, and for me, like you said, it's like I'm just going to invest it. Like that's what I love. I want to spend the money on me. And how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to pay myself. And then so hopefully in the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, whatever, that shit is going to compound. And I'm going to turn that little gift into a bigger gift. But my dad would sometimes get mad at me. And he'd be like, please don't spend this on investing. Like go out to dinner. Mm-hmm. And I never listened. I still do. I just put it into the brokerage account. But to your point, like I'm so simple. Even when we jumped on, you're like, oh, black sweatshirt. I'm like, dude, this is all I have. Like my wardrobe in and of itself is black and white. I have white shirts and black shirts. I have like maybe one or two other colored shirts, and that's it. And black jeans and jeans, and like blue jeans, and like this is it. Like it's super simple. And just what I've realized, man, the more money I throw into the market and the more I focus on like what matters in my life, I don't want to spend and splurge in areas that just are not going to reward my future self. It doesn't make sense to me. And the way I think even now, like, I'm like everything I'm doing right now is for my future family. So I want to give them an amazing life, and that's going to require someone, somewhere, somehow to sacrifice. And I'm ready to stand up for that. I want to be the one. So, looking at gifts, it's just like I want to share with everyone, like be careful this holiday season, like
yeah, for sure,
prudently.
And the thing about investors, I think I can speak for all of us when I say this, is this doesn't really feel like a sacrifice. It's exciting to think about being able to put more and more into your portfolio, and it doesn't feel like I don't do it because I feel like I have to do it. I do it because I want to do it and I enjoy doing it. For two reasons. I mean, number one, just because, like you said, Ari, it's for the betterment of your future self, which it's really nice to know that you're doing that for your future self. And it feels good to. It's hard to delay that gratification, but it also feels good doing that type of thing. And before I'll stop myself from like turning that into a tangent about working out or running or whatever. But so it feels good. And, like we've discussed before, it's a hobby for us. We have fun looking into these companies and putting money into these companies or these ETFs, whichever you prefer to invest in. But yeah, because of those couple of things, it really doesn't feel like it's a sacrifice anymore. It's like, it's exciting. And that's something that people outside of investing don't quite understand. And so like when you ask for money to invest for Christmas or for your birthday, they think it's weird. They're like, no, I'm not going to get you that. You go out like your dad, you go out to dinner because that's what's going to be fun. But what they don't understand is like, no, this is my thing. This is what's fun for me. I don't need to go to some Michelin star restaurant. I don't have the palate for that. I will save that money. Maybe I'll go to McDonald's or In-N-Out Burger. But yeah, it's fun to be able to put that money into your portfolio. It's for the love of the game, and everyone's got their thing. Like we've talked about before, it's like some people are into, working on cars. Some people are into pottery. Some people are into coding and building softwares. Everyone's got their thing, and this is ours. And so for investors, as lame as it sounds to people who aren't kind of in it, this like the best gift that you can give an investor is just money to put into their accounts, which sounds so strange to people, but it's like, it's true. It takes a special kind, that's for sure.
I think it would be meaningful to honestly receive a card that says, here's I don't know, $100 or $50 or whatever. Here's $10 to put into your future self in investing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about it, is there a more meaningful gift to give than something of that sort? And I think some of the worst gifts, to be honest with you, are like gift cards, and like sometimes like it's just like, oh, like now I have to go to this place and I have to spend this money at this place. I'd rather just have the $25 again to put it into Vanguard. Like I just want to spend it this way.
Well, I will say, so my wife and I, we have our select spots that we like to go out and eat. It's Chipotle, it's In-N-Out Burger. It's pretty much those two. And so that is one other thing that like, okay, you don't want to get me money to invest. You don't want to give me cash. Get me a gift card to one of those places because we'll use it. And I figure if we're going to go to those places anyway, like once every couple of weeks or once every few weeks, nothing crazy. But yeah, if and when we do, it'd be nice to have a gift card to do that. And that money saved could then be saved or invested. And, but generally speaking, yeah, that's the only type of, those or like Visa gift cards are the only type that I like to get, because even when it's a Visa gift card, we'll just use it at Chipotle anyway. You know what I'm saying? But that's when it comes to gifts, like that's a very practical gift, and that's something that will actually be used. It doesn't feel like you have to go out of your way to use it, or now you're obligated to use this thing that you didn't. This might be bad to say, that you didn't really want in the first place, like those pair of black socks. But that's a very practical gift. So I think that's what gift giving should be. Something practical that you actually use, that you actually want to have. And my mom thinks that's lame. She always feels bad that we know it doesn't matter when you get to, this age, but to us anyway. But she always feels bad that we kind of know what we're getting for Christmas. But it's like, man, I'd rather you get something, know that you're getting us something that we'll actually want and use than, try and guess and have it not work out. So,
man, I got a funny story. I remember this years and years back. My mom had asked my brother what he wanted for the holidays. My brother said, yeah, nothing. I don't want anything. Like, please, like, it's okay. And so what my mom ended up doing was she got this box and wrapped it. And my brother, got all excited because now he's got this big box. He's like, oh, wow, thanks, Mom, thanks. He rips open the box and there's nothing in it. And he goes, like, what? And she was like, she starts laughing. And she's like, you asked for nothing, So, look, but I think at the end of the day, like, even something like that, it's the fun of it all, and I think, like you said, like as you get older, it's just the values change. And man, I for holiday season, I got this puppy sitting to my right. Like, I wouldn't mind someone buying her dog food, like all good. It's practical. I'm going to need to buy it anyways, like you shared. And I think the reason why I can harp on the gift cards, I don't go out much, man. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't like to spend money. And actually, this from Warren Buffett's book, The Snowball. Like, he did not like to spend money. Like, he penny pinched. He was a millionaire, and I think I'm blanking on the chapter. It was earlier on in the book. Great book. Anyone who didn't read it, it's The Snowball. It's all about Warren Buffett's life. But earlier on in one of those chapters, it just talks about how Warren and his wife moved to the East Coast, and they're staying in like a 1-bedroom apartment, even though he's a millionaire and even though he can afford whatever it is that he wanted. This guy did not spend money. And so sometimes I feel like we look at Warren Buffett and I feel like people just don't give him enough credit. It's like he sacrificed so much to get to where he is today in terms of not spending, putting every dime he possibly could into investing. And I think that's important to realize, because The people who make it and, call that it, make it whatever number fancies you, but like sacrifice is going to be required here, and foregoing the gifts, right? Or throwing the gift money into the market. Just depends like where you want to be. Like, what are you doing today that sets you up for tomorrow or the future?
Absolutely, man. And the thing about Buffett, though, is it was kind of like what I was describing a few moments ago. For him, that didn't feel like a sacrifice. He just,
Yeah.
he just didn't care about those other things. Like he would rather save that money and put it into his stocks or whatever because he just loved doing that so much. And the thing about him though is he was like that to a fault. And being so focused it did not come without its repercussions. There were consequences to that. He had to sacrifice relationships. I mean, him being the way that he is cost him his marriage, and it cost him quality time with his kids, and his family life suffered in a big way because of that. And he just basically didn't have balance in his life. He was all in on researching stocks all day, every day, and just being in it every day, which, he loved doing it. So it was his job. He loved doing it. So it was also his hobby. But he was obsessed. And to get to the level he is, like you were saying, you do have to be that way. But there's downsides that come along with that as well. And I think that's an important lesson for us everyday investors too. People like yourself and myself and a lot of us watching, is that you do have to have balance. You can't, especially when there's other people in your life like wife and kids and family, you can't be such a hermit, and you can't be I shouldn't say can't. If you are Buffett-esque in that way, it's going to be detrimental in other areas of your life. So you have to find some sort of balance, because it's not just you that you have to worry about. Those type of decisions, those type of financial decisions impact, your immediate family in that way, or in a big way. And I think just from the standpoint of having like a healthy marriage and a healthy relationship with your family, you guys have to be on the same, especially more specifically with your wife or husband, or partner, whatever term you want to use. You guys have to be on the same page about those type of things. And there's got to be compromise. And that's just relationships in general. It's compromise. But and so yeah, I guess the point is, it's like, hats off to Buffett for being so disciplined and so focused, and there's some good takeaways from that. But there's also some repercussions from being that frugal. Now, I will say to his credit, one really cool thing about him that I think we can all take away is that, and we've talked about this before in the last episode, he did not need anything special. He did not need anything fancy. He still lives in the same house that he's lived in for decades. He doesn't drive a super fancy car, maybe like a Cadillac or something. But, he doesn't have like a garage full of Maseratis and Lamborghinis, even though he could. He doesn't have a big old yacht. And so, he just, very simple guy. And I do think that is a good way generally for a lot of us to be. And Ari, we've talked about this at length. Like, we don't need anything fancy. We're good with black sweatshirts. Feel totally fine not owning a car. Like, if I'll own a car someday if I have to, but until then, I do not feel like I'm missing out on anything. I think we'll both be fine with like modest living arrangements, not living in squalor by any means, but modest. I don't personally feel like I ever need to have a super fat mansion. I don't know. It's just not something that really interests me. I look at that more as like a headache. It's a lot more to clean. And so I think that Buffett being that way is a good takeaway, but we should also keep in mind that balance is important. And if you're too dialed in on the budget and too strict with it, and don't spend money on fun things and experiences and some discretionary stuff here and there, there can be some bad things that come from that. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I think that's a really good point. First of all, it's like, I don't think Buffett's wife expected him to be that extreme. I think from what I recall, even reading, she was always waiting for him to come around to the relationship, and he never did. But his relationship was with his hobby. And, it's interesting. There's this poem. I just wanted to read it because it struck me in some type of way when I read it the other day. But it reminds me a lot about like how we should all come at investing and how we should all come at life. But it reads, "The master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whatever he is working or playing. To him, he's always doing both." And when I read that, I was like, wow. Like, I look at my simple life, and I love how you just concluded, like, you're not living in squander. You have a nice life, but you don't need the mansion. And that's how I feel. Even with this new apartment that I have, it's funny if I open up these cabinets, they're basically empty. And if I go in my room here and I open up, I have a massive closet there, and I have like this little tiny cubby, and it's empty. Really, like everything's just empty. Even this massive closet unit. But I laugh to myself because I'm like, it's funny. Like, I think we all fool ourselves into thinking that the material is going to make us happy. And the only thing that has so far brought happiness to me and like complete joy and contentment and peace of mind is the security in knowing that if I want to, can completely stop working right now and take like a year plus off. I'm not going to do anything like that, but I'm just saying it's like that security. And so then the question for me becomes like, well, what happens after you hit like the million, right? Like that feeling just continues to build, and you have bought your freedom back. Like you can go live life. I think about Jason Fieber's story, which, by the way, I don't know where he went on YouTube. He's like literally disappeared. And I had a subscriber of mine actually email me and say, "Hey, Ari, quick question. Do you know where Jason Fieber went?" And I sent Jason an email. I haven't heard back from him. So I do hope he's okay. But Jason's story of moving to Thailand, and like when I spoke to him and even did a Masters of the Market interview with him, he just sounded so free, and it's like, yeah, he moved to Thailand, and some people harped on him, by the way, for that, because they were like, "Oh, well, he moved to Thailand, so easy for him to say." And I'm like, yeah, but he moved to Thailand for a X period of time and moved away from family and all that, and like he wanted his freedom. And if I wanted to right now move to Thailand, like pack the pup up with all my one suitcase and move to Thailand, like I'd basically be a billionaire over there. And it's just really cool to kind of think like that. Like, I don't care about all the stuff that's even in the apartment now came with the apartment. It's like I didn't buy anything, and I don't know, man. I'm happy. I'm happy when I look at my investment account, and I'm like, dude, you're crushing it. Like you're gonna earn your freedom.
And I think that the way that you're feeling stretches beyond. I think it goes deeper than just your investment account too. The only reason you feel that way is because you feel fulfilled with the way that you're spending your time. And we talked about this last week too, but it's a really important topic, and this is something that I think investors are inherently more clued in on than non-investors, because we understand that time is the most important thing. You want to have as much time as you can so you can do the things that give you fulfillment and a sense of purpose. It's not to sit around and sip margaritas on the beach, because that's not fulfilling. That'll get boring after a while. But it's to have the time to do the things that, actually make you want to get out of bed every day. And the reason that you feel that the way you're feeling, and I feel the same way, by the way, but the reason is because you feel fulfilled with how you're spending your time. both on YouTube and off YouTube. I know you do a lot off of YouTube, and all of it is a force for good too. Like the goal with all of it is to, through sharing your journey, to hopefully help people live better lives, whether that's financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it is. And yeah, that's a really rewarding thing. And there's a really strong sense of fulfillment that comes from that. And when you have that, you just naturally don't feel like you need to, fill that void with material things. That's kind of where we left it last week. It's finding fulfillment out there, which is, you can never do it permanently, versus finding fulfillment in here. And the good thing too is, you kind of going back to that poem that you recited, which is spot on. I haven't heard that before. I've heard similar ideas being shared, and I think that's the best thing. If you can get to a place in your life where what you're doing for work is also based around what you're interested in, it's hard to find anything. It's hard to ask for anything more than that. And it's such an important thing too, because we spend so much of our waking hours working, whether it's a 9 to 5 or rather, well, yeah, think about it. If it's a 9 to 5, 40 hours per week, 9 to 5 is the great chunk of your day. And it would be great if you can do something, and it's easier said than done, I know, but it would be great if you can get yourself in a place where whatever that is, however you're spending that time, is something that you actually care about and are actually interested in. And I think it was Naval Ravikant who said, I read where is it? Yeah, in his book, the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, which is basically just a collection of his tweets and writing and interviews. He said something similar to where, like, the best jobs are the ones that are based around your own curiosity and interest. Those are the best jobs. And the good thing, we often come back to this too, the good thing about living in today's day and age is that it is possible for anyone to have something like that. You can start writing on Twitter about whatever you're interested in, or LinkedIn or YouTube, choose the platform. And you can build something around that. And eventually, like, the natural progression with things like that is, as it builds and as it grows, the more of a chance you have to turn it into an actual job or an actual career. And, like I said, whatever you're interested in, there's a way to create something like that for yourself. And it's not easy, it takes a lot of time and whatnot, but it's totally worth it. And when you were reciting that poem, it made me think of a similar idea from Naval. And yeah, I think we're really fortunate to live in a day and age where it's possible to do things like that. And sure, through investing, you can get yourself to a place where you don't have to worry about the job, or you don't have to worry about answering to anyone and have that hanging over you. But I would encourage all of you guys, until you reach that point where you are financially free from your investments and you have that passive income coming in to pay your bills, in the meantime, while you're building that, I would encourage all of you guys to try and build something kind of like what I was just describing. For Ari and myself, that's a YouTube channel, also a newsletter as well. I would encourage you guys to do something like that. And if for no other reason, it's just it doesn't have to be with investing. It can be with investing, because if you're watching this, you're obviously interested in that, but it could be things outside of investing too, if you have other hobbies. I would totally encourage you guys to start posting about it, whatever platform it's on, whatever that looks like for you. I would encourage you to do that, because number one, you never know what those things can grow into. It could be your gateway it could be your, retirement plan right there, and it could come a lot sooner than waiting. All right, my friends. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. You can kind of see there towards the end where it really started to freak out. So I figured that was a good place to cut it. Nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this last hour. We'll be back in full force next week. We're super excited to do it again, and we'll see you in the next one.